You fill your mouth with words and words. You twist them well. Oh yes, I heard. Shits and ties don't cover your light. I see you come. You try. You know me, you say we get the same society. Oh, you know me, you say we get the same philosophy. Oh, you know me, you say we get the same society. Oh, you know me, you say we get the same philosophy.
Good to have you join us on the Baroness, the program that always brings something new with concerns particularly about the women, the youth, and the vulnerable in the society. Well, for those of you who have been following us, you will agree with me that for some time now we've been, highlighting issues about women exerting themselves in their fields and trying to impact the society for the better. Before I recap some of these things we have done to this very point, you need to know, for those who are watching for the first time, if there are any, my name is Beyitmoa Nyam. And of course, I am not alone. We are all together today, full house, and I've always said when we're together, it's always exciting. The more, the merrier. I have Nene smiling, interestingly. She has something up the sleeves. She smiles like this. Nene.
It's good to have you join us again today on another very interesting edition of the program, The Baroness. I'm glad to be here. And as Beita said, The Baroness, when you are with us, there is never a dull moment, and you will never regret ever tuning in to watch this program, because we're here for you and you are the reason that we're here. So we do hope that you will stay with us from now till when the program wraps up, so that you can learn a thing or two to apply to your life or even to the life of your loved one.
Yes, and Anita is looking red. For me, red is speaking love. Maybe some things are happening around you that is spelling love here and there.
Well, yeah. Every day you fall in love more and more every day.
Oh, wow.
With people around you.
Okay.
Every day is a love day.
Okay.
Good to have you join us, viewer, on the Baroness as usual. Fun and excitement we are promising you, and today is not going to be different. Some information that would get you on your feet and get you super excited. We'll be sharing that with you. We have got just the right person that will tickle, that part of you that has been waiting for some tickling, and ginger you to get up and do something new, something different. Just stay where you are.
Yeah, and finally the Baroness was at the book lunch. You probably have watched Yimi Idogo with the book, the boardroom, from the classroom to the boardroom and the rooms in between. We were there for the book lunch, and I tell you, it was explosive. It was so mind-blowing. So many things that that about that book. If you see the book, it looks something small, but that book is rich, is big. When you talk about the content of that book, I think that some of you have already, sent text messages wanting to get the books. If you still do, we will get it across to you. But it was wonderful to have somebody come up with something like that to help people who are coming up. If you are not even late, even if you are 50 or 60, that book is still relevant for you. At any point, you can choose to develop yourself and make yourself relevant in your own field or in your own world. Yes, and we brought you a report from all the way to Abuja. Pan-African women were gathering to, rub minds on what's the way forward for women actually. What can we do differently to achieve the results that we've been yearning for, so that the woman can actually actualize herself, not only in the areas of politics, but in the area of governance, in participation in decision making and all that. Well, the good news is women are moving. That is a good thing. We're not in one place. We're not sitting down. We're moving. So one day we will get there. So let's not be discouraged. That's the long and short of that program. Let's not be discouraged. Well, coming back to today, what we're about to share, you can see I'm trying to frame it. We have somebody here in the studio. Anytime we bring him, there's something new that you get to hear, about a lot of things. How many of you have had a reason for their heart to be broken for, being separated from their loved one because of an ailment? Is it, we talk about sickle cell. That is a hindrance to a lot of things. Couples have had reason to separate because of that and the rest of them. I don't know your story. And some of us who have same-sex children we wish there was a way we could have a mix. And there are so many things that, families do wish. There are a lot of wishes. I mean, if you wake up and you realize...
Wishes were horses, beggars would ride. That's a popular saying. Yes, but it's big.
They're actually wishes now. They are already. Yes, they are already. They have become horses. They have become horses and they're already right, because what you have been wishing is already here. And you believe it? Yeah. Well, I will have Nene introduce our guest today, and you get to know what we're talking about. This is just a tip I'm just giving, maybe not very well, but when we get to discuss, you get to know why I'm saying whatever you've been wishing as a couple, that wish is just at your fingertips.
That means it can come true. Well, okay, I have the honors, to introduce our guest. He's not someone new, but every time he comes on the program, it's like, he's been away for a very long time, and he's someone that has kept faith with the Baroness. He's someone that believed in the Baroness. Even when we were trying to get people, okay, why don't you just try and, partner with us? He was one of the very first persons to believe in the Baroness, to partner with the Baroness. And today, he has achieved a lot, so much so that when his organization is being mentioned, Baroness will have to be mentioned. So we are more or less, we're not Siamese twins actually, but we're together. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Kenneth Egwuda. He is a consultant, do I say gynecologist, and then he's also into ART and AVR. ARV, yes. Did I say AVR? That's a cable.
That's a cable because
it's so interesting to get it mixed up. Assisted reproductive technology, and then IVF, in vitro fertilization. Dr. Ken is here with us in the studio, and we'll be talking about the latest feats, that he achieved, more or less. So before I talk about that, let's say welcome, Dr. Ken, to the studio.
Thank you so much for mentioning assisted reproduction technology correctly. And in vitro fertilization rightly. Yeah, it's always nice to be on the Baroness. And just as you rightly mentioned, our field is a rapidly developing and evolving field. And while we're struggling with the population, and when I say population, I mean population in every region of the world, to come to terms with the reality of the variation in the kind of treatment that is possible with ART, and we're battling with all the controversies, acceptance and no acceptance, culture, the religion. Before you finish arguing, another thing happens again. So I just wonder how, well, I guess...
No, it's because all of this while, people have been waiting. There are a lot of unanswered, questions, desires, expectations that are not met, and like that. So it's like problems are being solved. That is what it means. Problems are being solved every day, feats are achieved and conquered and all of that.
Talking about achieving feats. Let's get to the point. Recently, Dr. Ken was recognized and awarded by the World Health Organization. Now, you want to ask me what the award is all about? Well, I don't know what the award is all about, but I know it cannot be far from IVF and ART. It cannot be far from that. Considering the fact that he is a young man coming up from Nigeria, who has been able to successfully
Living in Jos, you didn't say that.
okay, living in Jos, from Nigeria, living in Jos.
Exactly.
You know, and who has successfully been able to carry out, you know, ensure that a 60 something year old, you know, I like to put 60 something so that I keep people in suspense. 60 something year old woman put into bed for the first time in her life. You know, I always like to remember that part that she said she's not used to the fact that, you know, she's used to sleeping and snoring throughout the night. But then here's a baby. So she can't sleep and snore throughout the night. But the joy of having a baby at that age, Dr. Ken was able to successfully, you know, carry that out. So if we are recognizing him here in Who is Who on the Plateau Award, you know, for medicine, WHO is saying we are recognizing him. So Dr. Ken, congratulations on that award, and tell us more about it. What is it about? Is it something new that you discovered, or
and also what it means for you?
Yeah, thank you so much. The award was an award for recognition of the feats and the variable kind of treatments that we do in assisted reproduction technology coming from sub-Saharan Africa. Okay. You know, and they were looking at resource low regions of the world, you know, and having to be able to do variables, different kind of treatments, you know, cutting across all age groups and culture. And if you permit me to say, even sexual orientation sometimes, they put all those things in perspective. And yeah, in the gathering of world leaders that happened in Dubai, the recognition was given. And you have leaders coming from the mining industry, from the shipping industry, aviation industries, and those in core act of governance or government. You know, and well, that's what the award is for: excellence in delivering healthcare in the setting of assisted reproduction technology. Yeah, they consider a lot of things that I won't be able to mention for the sake of sanity, you know, but that's what was considered, and they felt that they need to encourage it, and they needed it to be as diverse as it is, and yeah, they just give a little recognition, and it makes one feels good that what you're doing is not only being recognized in the locality you live, but it is seen and heard and nationally and also internationally. I remembered some people in the gathering when I stood up. I was just dressed actually in a t-shirt and a jeans trouser and maybe a loafers canvas, and this is the Ken of Nigeria. It's the Ken of Nigeria. Overhead, I was like, wow. You know. Oh, wow, so they've heard about something happening in Nigeria. Yeah, so it gives this kind of good feeling. And you know, when you feel good, your body gets healthier. Oh, yeah.
You think better.
You think better, you feel appreciated. And it also gives this humbling feeling, you know, because from my faith or religion, we are taught and we believe that except God does something good through you, you can't do anything good. That's so right. And so it wasn't something to be proud about, it's something to return the praise to God, and also to thank women for believing in us to administer this kind of treatment to them. So I think the award is especially to the women who agreed for us to treat them.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I think when you see excellence, I think you can tell. These women must have seen something different in the way that ALPS hospitals and diagnostics treat them and the way they handle their issues. We've mentioned here severally, is as if the staff of ALPS hospitals and diagnostics are trained in some special way. You live here in Nigeria, you live in Jos, but when you go into that hospital, it was as if you are somewhere else. Even though we're not saying Nigerians are not good, but we're saying that most times we do not, you know, stick to the ethics of our jobs in terms of courtesy, in terms of the way that we receive people, where we treat people. We are not so consistent, but so far, so good. And I'm sure they must have seen that for them to allow you. I wouldn't say experiment, to like treat them. That's what
another thing, kind of experiment.
It's a good one.
And you know, there's something about human beings. Human beings kind of tend to galvanize towards good things, whether we like to acknowledge it or not. You know, there are times that there are certain hospitals you go to, at the gate you get more sick. Then when you get into the facility, in fact, it's like your story has ended. But
just to cite, I mean, if you come into the wrong gate, for example, because you do not know, the gate man will in fact send you back.
That's just it. So what we're just saying is, I remember one of the first editions of this program we had with Dr. Ken. He talked about standard, because I kept harping on the fact that what makes him and his staff different, and he said standard, best practices, world best practice. And that is what has made these women to present themselves. Because imagine someone trying IVF four times, or no, 3 times, and the fourth and the only successful one was in his facility. So what happened with the other facilities that they went to try? So, well, in local parlance they say yabungwani yazamaduli.
Oh wow.
You know, it's important, and it's pertinent to praise the person that is good,
that has excelled.
That's just what we're saying. So away from the award, which we will wash definitely.
We already have the soap, we have the water, so Dr. Kim will just provide the buckets.
Wash.
Or rather go to provide the...
Oh really?
All right, now let's talk about...
Thank you.
Yeah, you've talked about the fact, when you were talking about the criteria that was used, you know, to recognize what you're doing, I'm very much interested in what is happening in Jos Plateau State. They are concerned that this could take place in sub-Saharan Africa, where they consider to be, well, backward, poverty stricken, and all of that. But this is a fit coming up now. And also you mentioned something about, before you finish making a sentence, something new comes up in your profession. So here on the plateau in Jos, what is new that you're doing in ALPS hospitals and diagnostics that our viewer can take advantage of?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mentioned earlier that I think one of the fast or rapidly evolving profession or subspecialty in medicine is the field of assisted reproduction technology. This is one field that is so full of controversies, and while you're struggling to accept one modality of treatment, another one happens. Yeah, sometimes some of these treatments will actually take you aback that is even offering the treatment. You know, the world currently, for instance, the world currently is seeing a storm of all kinds of marital relationship. I prefer to use that word. All kinds of marital relationship. Some are actually taking some of us based on our culture, our upbringing, our religion, or our societal disposition aback. You know, remember one of the hospitals where I shadow in or work occasionally, the Create Fertility Center, London. I just walked into the theater with my boss, and we're going to transfer baby into a womb. That's the end of the treatment. I was not part of the process of the treatment, but I was coming in towards the end of the treatment, where the embryos, the baby generated or developed, is going to be put back in a woman's womb. And two couples, or a couple, walked into the theater, and they were same sex, for instance. And my boss knew this is not the kind of scenario I'm used to. And of course, he said this has been permitted and has been sanctioned by the government of the land, and it is criminal not to treat them. So if you're not comfortable, keep quiet and watch. Wow. Yeah, that took me aback, but okay, that is currently where the world is. You know, and when you are involved in that kind of relationship, either gay or lesbian marriages or same-sex marriages, the only way you can get pregnant is by assisted reproduction technology. Well, this is Nigeria, and it's not in the constitution of Nigeria. It's not practiced in Nigeria. So you see, you're struggling with one thing and another thing is coming up. But the world is moving all the same. But not to talk about that, back here in Jos, what we're looking at currently as a new thing happening to us in the field of assisted reproduction technology is this advanced modality of assisted reproduction technology. We call it the pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. For those of you who are in school, you would have heard of PGD, PGS. But in this case, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. So from our own scientific point of view, that's the acronym we term it as, for just easy pronunciation or referencing. So, it's a kind of treatment that is aimed at working on the genetics or that form the baby, the genes that form the baby. If you take this treatment, you can actually go to an extreme with it. It is still undergoing a lot of controversies in London, in America. Should we do it for everyone? Should we do it when it's needed? Should we not do it at all? Then there are people that we have said that have this problem from genetic diagnosis, and when we transfer the embryos, we discover that the problems were not there. Should it be done at all? While the controversy is happening, things are also happening. So right here in Jos, I will be glad to announce that yes, we have taken a feat towards establishing that sort of practice, because we have the healthy part of the practice while we are still looking at the controversy surrounding the entire practice of pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. Part of the healthy part of the practice is this. You have couples who are both carriers of the sickle cell traits. You understand? So with this modality of treatment, you're able to fertilize an embryo, or rather fertilize an egg, generate an embryo, take the embryo to day 5, blastocyst, when you need to transfer it to the woman. But then before then, you take a part of the embryo and run a comprehensive DNA analysis. That way you're able to see the genes that is sickle and those embryo who don't have the sickle cell trait. So you make a decision to transfer the sickle cell free, so that when they get pregnant, you would not have a sickle cell baby. Those are the area that is plaguing evolving society like ours. Yeah, because churches make a whole lot of talk or show a lot of concern when it gets to this, because it's not a child's play to have a baby that is a sickle cell.
It's not.
No, not even a carrier, a sickle cell disease child. Because the problem they go through is enormous.
Yeah.
So whatever you do to eliminate that gene, or to replace that gene, or to select the baby free of that gene to transfer, I think it's a big step in reproductive medicine. So that has actually walked into Jos. I remember a month ago, we had a meeting with pre-implantation genetic diagnostic embryologists, and we decided to take a step towards doing that. We've also seen couples who have kids that are same sex, either boys all through or female all through, and for some reason that best known to them, either cultural reasons, spiritual or religious reasons, political reasons, want to have a balance of gender. And from my own perspective, I think a house that has both sexes, it's a balanced house. That's my perspective.
All right. Okay.
And a lot of people don't think it is necessary, but it is as necessary as the request that we see. There's hardly a month that passes without you seeing couple requesting for a particular gender. You understand? I've seen women who delivered baby girls and they got depressed for delivering baby girls. I've seen men who said they are so wealthy that even only one son cannot handle their wealth.
Wow.
And if you look at culture, as we transcend cultures, you observe that at some point in the cultural period or in the culture, you observe that a particular gender is being needed or somehow. So I guess it's a desire in the heart of man, and he finds a place to be fulfilled in the field of assisted reproduction technology.
Wow.
So by doing the DNA analysis too, you're able to see which embryo is a male embryo, and you transfer it in preference to the others, in quote, and if pregnancy occurs, boys will result from that. We have seen marriages that have practically ended because there is no particular gender, whether a male or a female. And there are some regions in Nigeria, for instance, who really come heavy on that request. You know, and some marriages are not done yet, are not completed if either a female is not gotten or a male is not gotten. And so I think science is making it balanced. And of course, you know, from the population perspective, we need a balance of gender, you know, for some reasons to, you know, so, and also there are diseases that have a special predilection for some sexes.
Okay.
Yes, there are some diseases that affect males, some diseases that affect females.
Only female.
And so if you want to avoid the disease, you avoid the sex that brings the disease. So these are some of the reasons that this can be done. Like if you go to the United Kingdom now, the cystic fibrosis, a very terrible disease that babies hardly survive. So it can be taken care of by this means.
And it is the genes of the child?
Yeah, you can see in the gene of the child and doesn't have a cure.
Whoa.
Inherited?
Inherited, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, so it can be corrected. Oh, yeah. Yes, and if you decide to go crazy, you can change the genes. Yeah, by some advanced form of treatment too. The world is still struggling to come to terms with that. But of course, for me, whatever you do that makes a child comes out normal,
go ahead and do it.
It's worth doing.
Okay.
Wow, a lot has really been going on, but I think the most interesting part of it is that solutions are around the corner for those who have been struggling. We know that these things have been there. You know, this issue of coming to terms to this issue is because they have not faced it.
Oh, yeah.
These people who take the decision, because for the couples who have had children with sickle cell anemia will tell you they can do anything to get a healthy child, so they can rejoice for once in their lives that they have children, you know, and all of that. And the balance we're looking for, interestingly, Dr. Ken, we are advocates of balance for better.
Exactly.
Not only balance just for gender balance sake, but
for better.
For better, so that it's not one head that will just be doing things. There are so many other good heads that come from the from the women. That is not. We have been saying this every day, and people sometimes laugh over it, but that's the truth. When you put a man and a woman together to think over an issue, they bring different perspective, and it helps solve issues better than if only one person is doing it. That is why we want the well, we will discuss some more. Dr. Ken, I know you cannot exhaust him, so we're going to talk some more about some of these solutions that are there in ART, especially with regard to what we loosely say elimination series of problems, and we get the good ones that I'm sure all of us will support.
Never a dull moment on PRTV.
Never a dull moment on PRTV. Much more exciting moments on The Baroness with Nenedum, Bates Moanyam and Anita Malu every Tuesday 4:30 p.m. and Friday at 10:30 a.m. on the TV arm of PRTV. The Baroness.
Giving women,
youth,
children and vulnerable groups in the society a voice.
Join us.
We may have to fight internal violence when the insurgency dies down.
What we discussed last week
Was on children.
is when an aspect of this violence
Against
that's
children.
been meted against children, especially the girl child.
Word of advice would you have? Because we have a lot of young people who are aspiring to leave the shores of Nigeria for those greener pastures in those other countries. And those greener pastures, that kind of green pasture almost cost Tony his life.
Never a dull moment on PRTV.
Never a dull moment on PRTV. Much more exciting moments on The Baroness with Nenedum, Bates Moanyam and Anita Malu every Tuesday 4:30 p.m. and Friday at 10:30 a.m. on the TV arm of PRTV. The Baroness.
Giving women,
Youth,
children and vulnerable groups in the society a voice.
Join us.
Welcome back. It is still the Baroness, and we have been talking with Dr. Kenneth Egwuda of the ALPS Hospitals and Diagnostics here in Jos, a specialist in assisted reproductive technology. And we have well, the popular one is IVF that you and I know. And he has been discussing about the new trends in the field of reproductive system, reproduction assisted technology. And this one is quite interesting, where in a layman's language, you get the chance to choose what you want when you go to have babies. It's not enough that they intervene for you to have the baby. They go ahead to even make you have the kind of baby that you want to have. And if you've been suffering some kind of ailment that you're afraid it may transfer to your children, you can go so that it can be eliminated where possible. Isn't that exciting?
Very exciting.
Honestly, so
very exciting.
Beyond all the excitement, I was just weighing and thinking, when people come for this kind of assistance, they want to eliminate certain ailments that they have. Does it have any side effects whatsoever on the mother or the baby in future or anything like that? Because they say, well, it is just for now. What about later?
Okay, we
to be afraid of.
Maybe to add to what you're saying is the fact that we have this belief that, let me loosely use the word white man's medication. None is without side effects. That's what they say, and we have believed that. So when it goes so deep like what you're talking about, we want to think, we need to know if it applies.
Oh yeah, I think it's an interesting question. You want to know whether or not there are side effects to everything
in the long run
to do. This question has two good answers.
Okay.
It has two good answers. The answer is to the basic pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, where you select a baby based on sickle cell disease free trait, and you transfer to the mother, or you select a baby after doing a DNA analysis and you find out that this is a male and doesn't have other abnormalities, you also transfer to the mother. It doesn't have any side effect on the mother or on the baby, because you have not manipulated anything.
Okay.
Yes, it's just like you taking my blood sample and see what blood group I am, or what blood group I am, my genotype and all that, and that's just who I am. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't cause me side effects. So the basic pre-implantation genetic diagnosis does not cause any problem to the mother or to the baby. If it causes any problem at all, is the money that's involved in it.
That's okay. There you go again.
I'm not going to talk about the money because at the moment we can't name any price to it, until we are very sure of the details that is involved in doing it, because we're working in collaboration with another center that is very advanced in Cyprus and Barcelona to conclude some of those things. So how can we talk about price now? So that doesn't cause any side effect
at all.
There is, however, another type that is being studied, and that may actually cause side effects. And how do I mean? They are those types that you think about removing a particular trait from the embryos, and now infuse another trait into the embryo. How do I mean? There are some, those are the controversies now. There are some couples, or rather there's a society that wants to have very strong human beings. For instance, you want to have strong people who have endurance, So, and every trait in the human life has a gene, a code of a certain proteins that form that behavior that's seen. So if you don't want anyone, and it's the kind of one that has been studied and understood, that trait can be removed, and the trait you want can be infused into it.
From where?
Yeah, there are proteins that have been formed to take the place of another protein.
And those proteins are formed in the lab?
Oh well, they are formed. Yeah, they are scientific innovations.
They are formed from the lab. From the lab. They are formed from the lab.
Why are we calling it a lab or from the factory? It's still okay. The reason why I'm saying this is that recently a disease was cured from the genetic perspective by deactivating the gene.
Okay.
A disease that doesn't have a cure at all was cured by going to the gene and just like turning off that gene. You understand? So why I'm saying that some of these things may have side effects is that when you turn off that gene, for instance, you don't know other genes that are related to it could be turned off. You understand? So far, they are considered to be safe. So, but they are still evolving, and with time, you may know whether this has this effect or this effect. Like, for instance, you know, for those of you who are into fashion world, and you see some ladies want to have double eyelash. You understand?
Okay.
They call that masquerade or something. I'm not very sure now. You know, there are people that genetically have double eyelash.
Oh.
Yes, genetically have double eyelash. You know, so they can have very good eyelash, fashionable eyelash, if I may say it.
Yeah, fashionable better.
And
not good.
And genetically they are just like that. You know, but now that character, you know, has been linked up to some heart abnormalities.
Oh,
you understand? So, but now you have people who want to have double eyelash because they are into fashion or they're into modeling and all that. So if you alter the real gene that person has for the eyelash and infuse the gene that brings about the double eyelash, you don't know whether or not it will cause that sort of problem. You understand? So, you know, you just weigh the pros and cons of what you want to do and achieve it. But that is not practice in Africa. Yes, it's the next phase of assisted reproduction technology or human reproduction that may come. And then when you're having that stage coming in, it's coming in fast, by the way. When you have that coming in, we'll be having the generation of human beings that we call superhumans. Because the same way you alter the eyelash, you can make somebody be very powerful, to be able to
Superman.
have muscles, to,
from
you know,
crypto,
you know,
land crypto.
You know, so that's the one that that's why I say the question it has two good answers. Yeah, but the basic ones that is sanctioned by many countries does not have side effect on the babies and on the mother. And by the way, it is under strict regulation by world bodies. You understand? And they don't permit so much to change
alterations,
you know, the nature of man. But it also interests you to observe that there's a recent controversy that happened. A parent having his HIV, for instance, both having HIV, then they were worried about having baby and transferring the baby, HIV to the baby, and an IVF was done, and the gene that makes somebody attract HIV was removed from the babies.
Wow.
Okay.
You understand?
So there's a gene that
there's a gene that
everything about human being is controlled by one gene or one protein somewhere.
Wow.
So they were through IVF, the babies were made not to have the character or ability to be infected with HIV, and they were put back and they have been delivered. They have been studied. When that happened, it generated a whole lot of controversy. But if you ask me, I'm on the good part of the controversy. Whatever you do to make the babies not to contract HIV through their parents and even in life later, bring it on, because HIV is one thing that has plagued the world so much. So stopping it from conception and giving the baby an inherent ability not to be infected or contract HIV later in life, perfect for me, it's welcome. Yeah, the world has been criticizing it, but then supposing you are the baby, what would your thoughts be?
Supposing
you understand? Dr. Ken, there are some it's not only HIV or sickle cell that people don't want transferred to the next generation. We also know that cancer is one deadly disease that has been passed from generation to generation as well. I'm sure I know we have discussed there even with you the fact that if in your lineage or lineage this particular somebody has and like that, it is likely that someone will also have along the line. So is it possible for diseases like that and hypertension and all of those things, that is it possible to okay, in our parlance here, is it possible to edit it out? You know,
I like the choice of word.
Yeah, edit.
Edit. Because gene editing of genes is one very big issue that the world is struggling to come to terms with.
Okay.
And I like that, gene editing, because as you said, you can imagine that a child is born with a trait of cancer. For those of us who know who Julia Roberts, Jelu, this actress,
Jennifer Lopez.
Okay. Is it Jennifer Lopez? The wife of the former Brad Pitt's wife, this popular actress.
Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
The one with the breast cancer issue.
Her mother has strong genes for breast cancer. Then she went for DNA analysis and discovered that she has equally those strong genes for those cancer, the BRCA1, BRCA2 genes, and ovarian cancer. What did she do? She took off her breast and have implants. Why? So she could live and enjoy the remaining life she has to live. So, yeah, before even getting to that point, if an IVF is done, the analysis can be made, and through gene editing mechanisms, that can be done. So if that is done in this circumstance, let nature and the society judge this. Would you call this a bad
practice?
There are some of the practices that are very good, like this case now, on knocking out the diabetes, gene editing, you know, and putting in the gene for healthy glucose or pancreas, healthy control of blood sugar. I will think that those are very good. But then it's dependent on the government of the day, you know, and the world bodies that govern all these things to encourage in the direction that these things should be done. So far, Nigeria is coming up on just the basic aspect of IVF, which we all are doing. And yeah, I don't know whether they will have a bill concerning this soon or no. I'm not sure. But then the world is actually thinking about that. So it's very possible. It's very possible.
You know, as he was talking, you know, I know that Nigeria, amongst other countries of the world, is also trying to accept, you know, some of these innovations in IVF and ART. But something struck me when you were talking about what you are allowed to do, what the profession allows you to do, you know, international best practice. You said they monitor to ensure that you don't change too many things, as it were, you know. So, peradventure you're doing something here in Jos, Plateau State. They're not here. So, who is going to do the monitoring? How will they, you know, how can they really monitor? How can the international community or World Health Organization or the international body that is in charge of IVF and ART, how can they really monitor to ensure that those who practice ART and IVF are actually, you know, sticking to the rules?
Oh, that's an interesting question. You know, one would actually wonder that you could be in your bedroom and do something very secret and the world doesn't know. Yeah, but when you get to pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, the diagnosis eventually that comes up is read in a central unit in the world.
Wow.
So it doesn't start and end with you. That is where the control is. So whatever you are rolling out is being seen, because the equipment used for this kind of practices has a code. It's just like if you're making calls now, there is a server somewhere that tells all the calls you're doing, and if you want to find out what you're saying, you could track that. You know, so there's also a body like that, so that can actually be monitored. Yeah, the only one that can be monitored are the local ones that is culturally or not culturally accepted, and that's left for the localities. But then there's the ethics, you know, the moral standard and the codes of the practice, you know, that permits you to do what you have to do, and it's your conscience, you know, to some extent that determines what you do. But the very technical ones are monitored by a general server, if I may use the word. So whatever you do is being seen.
Wow. That is quite encouraging, because it helps to check those who may be tempted to do otherwise, especially because they have the powers in their hands to do it.
You see, like, this HIV one I mentioned, that a baby was formed through IVF, and the ability to be infected by HIV was removed out, wasn't monitored.
Oh.
That was not permitted to be done in the United States.
Oh.
So then the scientists haven't learned from United States, Stanford University, you know, left to China. You know, and with collaboration of some scientists from China, they are done.
So is that baby a China baby? It's also made in China.
It was done. It was done. China has gone very far in technology, at least when you compare to a whole lot of other
we
parts
give
of
that
the
to
world.
them. We give that to them.
They are still, and also the technology came from the West. You know, the knowledge came from the West, trained from the West, and all that, then achieved in China. Why? Because there are a lot of actually conditions today that you can't practice in some region of the world, but when you go to other regions of the world, it is permissible. So in that case, it is not contrary to law. They may not accept it in some regions, but it is welcome and celebrated in some other regions of the world. For abortion, for instance, is not accepted in some part of the United Kingdom, but a lot of women travel from wherever they are to Liverpool in England,
where
it is permissible, you know, and they still do it. It's not criminal there, but it's criminal out there in some other places.
What about Nigeria? Do we have such rules in Nigeria, and are they applicable?
What rules now?
The rules guarding
practice of air.
Best practices. You can do this here. You cannot do this.
Yeah, we have in Nigeria currently. It's been developed in Lagos State just 2 months ago. Yes, and I think Lagos is now like pioneering the code of conduct for the
practice
production technology. Then it has been with the National Assembly, the bills, you know, but it has not been finalized and submitted to Ministry of Health to govern the practices that have been done. Maybe soon it will. I don't know.
And when it does, what does it translate?
It means that if you do any practice that is not acceptable by the government of Nigeria, it's going to be termed criminal. And the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria is going to come after you, and you're going to have to explain why you're doing that. Of course, that may end up being a criminal case.
Or you surrender your license.
Oh yeah, it's a
you know, as we're talking about all of this, something came to me when Dr. Ken was talking about editing, you know, some of those
diseases.
Diseases in the genes and all of that. You know, I've heard quite many times the Bible says that because we have reneged, you know, from the Word of God, we do not live the way we ought to live. You know, a lot of plants and herbs was given by God for medicine and for food and all of that, but because we have fallen from grace to grass, we don't listen to the Creator, we do things ourselves, we pollute the environment, we do a lot of negative things. So that has also contributed to, you know, make humans the way they are now. You know, even sorry, I'm just going like, you know, we're just, you know, you get a lot of people with a lot of disjointed genes, abnormal genes, and all of that.
You never realize that you have it until you are well advanced in age.
Exactly. So, Dr. Ken, now I know you are a scientist, you know, and all of that. But do you think that strict adherence, you know, to what God says, to what is in the Bible, you know, and especially in Deuteronomy, if you obey my words and do according to all that I have said, none of the diseases that plagued the Egyptians will be found in your. Do you? Laughing.
I'm eager to hear the answer.
Yeah.
Yes, because this question is.
And the answer is going to be a very good answer.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not answering from a biblical perspective.
That's why I said you are a scientist.
I am not an authority in that regard. But from what I know about nature, and the little I know about God, He doesn't do evil. So all the fallouts from your fall of man is a consequence of man's action. If I am AS, for instance, and I decide to go and marry another woman that is AS, and we do not seek help and we get pregnant, it is nothing to do with God. It is man that has a lot and everything to do with it. So man is the architect of his problem in this regard. And then if you get associated with a woman or a man with another gene, you give birth to a child that has that gene because you give your character to the baby. So it is not morally, it is your action that brings up that. And science coming to correct your actions is nothing bad. So God is actually exonerated.
Actually, Dr. Ken, I think that Nene has prepared you for a lot of questions that you may face in this your practice, because you have different patients coming to meet you and they may be asking you, are you sure you're not intervening with nature? Are you sure you're not challenging God and all of that? But anyway, actually, this is where we will start. All of you that have issues, you're stopping here. All of you. You want to talk some more? Let's do it again another time. It has been wonderful having you, Dr. Ken, speak to us concerning the new trends in the practice of assisted reproductive technology. We now know a lot of things are happening around us here in Jos Plateau State in Nigeria. In Sub-Saharan Africa, so many things are happening, and just in case you're about to give up because you find yourself in Africa, think about it. You can make a difference with your profession. All you need to do is pursue excellence, and you will be acknowledged anywhere you are. You cannot be hidden. When you pursue excellence, we will make our world somewhere. I mean, people will begin to turn their attention towards us, you know, and all of those negative narratives will be completely be changed. And that is our desire on the Baroness, that we get there. On behalf of everyone that has made this program what it has been, thank you very much. On this note, we'd like to welcome the Baron himself.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yes, Mr. Jephthah Jagden, you are welcome. We're so happy to have you because you're the friend of the Baroness. You have been the one helping and motivating us to keep on doing this. And we're happy that you're back. You're welcome. We pray that the glory of the latter house will be better than the former. It's bye-bye from all of us.
Yeah.
We will do it again.
Send us a text message on our line that is on your screen, and of course you can reach us on the Facebook page.
On the Facebook page at the Baroness, www.facebook.com/the Baroness PRTVC. And any question you have for Dr. Ken, send it to us. We'll forward to him, and he will answer you.
It's bye-bye from here.
Okay, we have done our bye-bye already.
Education, equal idea. Give them chance to be part of the politics. Let them join in making of policies. Fight for gender equality. Mama Heya, Mama Heya. For protection from disease. Mama Heya, Mama Heya. For amazing politics. Mama Heya, Mama Heya. Now we need empowerment. Mama Heya, Mama Heya.
Educating girls on hygiene. It will save them from diseases. Some are suffering from STD.